If this waterway shuts down tomorrow, oil prices surge overnight, shipping insurance explodes. Europe scrambles for energy, Asia's supply chains begin to stall. This narrow passage is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, one of the most critical choke points on Earth, and the only country positioned to stabilize or destabilize that corridor is Djibouti, Red Sea security, who really controls global trade. How does a tiny, resource-poor nation become one of the most powerful players in global geopolitics? The answer lies not in what it has, but where it is. This is the story of Djibouti, a country smaller than New Jersey, that mastered the art of weaponizing its geography. Djibouti sits on the Horn of Africa, right at the mouth of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This narrow waterway, whose name means Gate of Terrors in Arabic, is one of the world's most critical choke points. It connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden, and, by extension, the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean via the Suez Canal. Think about that for a second. Around 30% of all global shipping, including a massive chunk of the world's oil supply, passes through this tiny gap. If the Bab el-Mandeb closes, global trade grinds to a halt. For centuries, this strategic location was more of a curse than a blessing. It attracted colonial powers, first the French, who established French Somaliland in the 19th century to counter British influence in Aden across the strait. Djibouti City became a key coaling station for French ships heading to their colonies in Asia. But after gaining independence in 1977, Djibouti found itself in a tough neighborhood. It was surrounded by instability, civil war in Ethiopia, chaos in Somalia, and conflict in Yemen just across the water. The country itself had few natural resources, scorching heat, and a tiny population. Its future looked bleak. But then, a shift happened. Djibouti's leaders, particularly President Ismail Omar Guelleh, realized their greatest asset wasn't under the ground, but the ground itself. They understood that in an increasingly interconnected and unstable world, global powers needed a safe, reliable place to project power and protect their interests. And Djibouti was the perfect spot. The first major tenant was France, which maintained a significant military presence after independence. But the real game-changer came after the September 11th attacks. The United States launched its war on terror, and the Horn of Africa was a key front against extremist groups in Yemen and Somalia. The U.S. needed a base, and Djibouti was ready to rent. In 2002, Camp Lemonnier was established, becoming the only permanent U.S. military base in Africa. This wasn't just a small outpost. It grew into a massive hub for counter-terrorism operations, drone strikes, and intelligence gathering across Africa and the Middle East. This move opened the floodgates. Seeing the stability and the strategic advantage, other nations lined up. Japan established its first overseas military base since World War II here, officially to combat piracy in the Gulf of Aden. Italy and Germany followed suit, setting up their own smaller presences. It was like Djibouti had put up a for rent sign on the most valuable piece of real estate on the planet, and everyone wanted a piece. Then came China. In 2017, China opened its first ever overseas military base right next to the American one. This was a monumental geopolitical event. For a monthly rent that is rumored to be around $20 million, China secured a foothold at this critical choke point, allowing its navy to support its growing economic interests in Africa and along the maritime Silk Road. Now, you have American, Chinese, French, and Japanese forces all operating within a few miles of each other. It's a geopolitical tinderbox, but a very lucrative one for Djibouti. So, how did Djibouti pull this off? They embraced a policy of strategic neutrality. They are friends with everyone. They host the Americans and their rivals, the Chinese. They host European powers. They even reportedly host Saudi forces. By welcoming all these competing powers, Djibouti makes itself indispensable to all of them. Each country's presence effectively guarantees the nation's stability, because no major power wants to see a rival take full control of such a vital location. It's a brilliant balancing act. An attack on Djibouti would be an attack on the interests of multiple world powers. This strategy has transformed the country. The revenue from these military bases, which is estimated to be hundreds of millions of dollars annually, has fueled massive infrastructure projects. With Chinese investment, Djibouti has built new ports, a free trade zone, and a railway connecting it to landlocked Ethiopia, which funnels over 95% of its trade through Djibouti's ports. Djibouti is positioning itself not just as a military hub, but as the commercial gateway to East Africa. However, this strategy isn't without risks. There's the immense debt owed to China, raising concerns about Beijing's long-term influence. And there's the delicate task of managing the day-to-day tensions between rival militaries operating in close proximity. Imagine Chinese and American naval officers running into each other at a local supermarket. It's a surreal reality in Djibouti City. Despite these challenges, Djibouti's story is a masterclass in modern geopolitics. It proves that in the 21st century, power isn't just about the size of your army or your economy. It's about location, location, location. By turning its geography from a colonial prize into a strategic asset for rent, this tiny desert nation has secured its survival and prosperity, making itself a small but mighty gatekeeper of the global economy. It has truly weaponized its place on the map. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the hidden forces that shape our world. See you next time.